Congratulations to Giles, let's break out the smiles. He's made MVP status, rejoice British Isles. Congratulations Giles, his acceptance video is must see. With the talents and spreadsheets, should be on TV. Suits away a fabric cotton, we welcome Deb back in. With Giles' big announcement, take over the whole thing. It's all about the data and the question of the week. Will we be providers of the answers that you seek? Unpivot, unpivot, let's get things underway. Unpivot, unpivot, let the podcast play.
Welcome. This is Unpivot, the show for Excel and Power BI fans and anyone who loves chatting about data. I'm Wyn Hopkins.
I'm Giles Mail, humblest MVP in the world.
I'm Mark Proctor.
And I'm Deb Ashby.
Excellent.
That's a good intro, Wyn. Good intro.
Thank you. Thank you.
It took me by surprise.
Any news? No? Move on. Question of the week?
Nothing. Let's move on.
Do I get to talk about myself for the whole episode?
Yeah, very good, Giles. So give us the backstory.
I'll take it off.
Give us
So
congratulations on being made an MVP.
Thank you very much. What do you want the backstory on the video?
Yeah.
Christmas, slightly tipsy conversation with brother-in-law, who's very, very good at music, turned into the reality of putting together an MVP video and somehow roping Deb into the whole thing, who was massively up for coming down to Bournemouth and doing a bit of acting. And crazy amounts of fun, wasn't it?
It was really fun. I'm literally just up for anything. Like, I'm like a golden retriever. I just like being outside. So I was happy to go to Bournemouth, see air, and it was a really fun day. I was so impressed. It was so professional. It was quite overwhelming, really, the amount of people that you've managed to call in favors from and rope in to do this video. I didn't really get it up until we were there. I wasn't really sure what was happening. But it was amazing. It was amazing.
Deb turned to me, I think after at the end of the day, we were sat down on one of the kind of rows of seats. Deb turned to me and she was looking around at everybody with a really confused look on her face. She's like, Giles, why is everybody here? Like,
why are they all doing
why
this?
Why are they doing this?
For them, all these people are giving up their time and they're like professional people, giving up their skills. And I was just like, why are they doing this? What's in it for them?
And I think it is worth mentioning that, so Giles, you recorded this on the 30th of August or something. And when did you get the notification that you had actually been accepted as an MVP?
After.
We had to record 2 endings. So we did 2 endings just in case he didn't get it. We would use that one, and then the one in case he did. So
we should actually release that at some point. There's a really funny, because at the end Deb does the slow clap. There is a version of that where she does the slow clap and then she goes, "You didn't even get it, you idiot."
Nice.
And we would have released it if I'd been rejected. We would have released it as the same video with a. Not that I was bothered, but I kind of put a video together for this. Thanks, Microsoft.
The slow hand clap is a very nice touch.
Oh, thank you.
You nailed it, Deb.
Very good lighting, very good video editing, great band, good song.
Yeah.
It was all professionals. I mean, it was lots of favors called in through my brother-in-law and my sister. But I have to warn the 3 of you and the general Excel community that this is going to happen every year now. I've got this firmly in my head that it has to get crazier every year. The budget's going to have to go up every year. It's going to go wild until Microsoft have to stop giving me the award.
You're going to get bigger and bigger names in it. I'll be
Crazy.
Old news next year. You'll get some big stars next year.
Oh, you were the superstar, Deb. No, you'll be in it every year.
That's so good. Very well done. And congratulations again. So
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Good. We will put a link as well in the show notes if people have got no clue what we're talking about. Go check out Giles's LinkedIn only. Giles, is that the only place it can be found, or is it on your YouTube?
It's on
channel
YouTube. We put it on Excel on the Road, but we just we just wanted to make sure it kind of reached an audience on LinkedIn, so we just uploaded it properly there as well.
Lots of nice comments. I think people received it well. They got the joke.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a risk. There was a risk, but I think everybody got it, which is great.
And that jacket just happened to be lying around, or?
Oh, I'm not joking. So the day before I travelled down to Bournemouth, I had to get 3 things. I had to get popcorn, a hot dog for the funny little, almost rude line that's just a funny little prop, and then a fur coat. And I had to walk into a cinema and just buy popcorn and a hot dog as if I was going to watch a film. They thought I was really weird. Bought hot dog.
You just walked out. Okay.
And the first charity shop I went into in Winchester had that bright white fur coat in the window, and it was like it was meant to happen.
Of course they did. It's Winchester. Of
It
course
is
they had a
true,
fur coat in the window.
Yeah, the charity shop.
It's a beauty. It's a beauty, and it was a hot. By the end of the day when we were recording, it was warm in there because there's a lot of people doing a lot of exercise. The dancers who were amazing, like they were knackered.
And
there's me going around in this massive fur coat, just dying of heat exhaustion. But yeah, it was worth it. It was a crazy day for everybody involved, and we didn't know how it would turn out. But Andrew, the video production guy, was just out of this world.
Amazing,
Unbelievably
that guy.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. And welcome, Deb, as well to the back to the
you.
friend of the pod. Welcome
I
back.
know. Temporary replacement for Sue. Where is Sue?
Sue.
What's Sue
Hey,
up
Sue.
to?
She'll be listening.
She's in Stockholm, I think.
Oh, okay.
Fabricon.
Oh, she's at that event, isn't she? The fabric
Yes.
event or
Yes.
whatever it is. Yeah, I saw something about that yesterday.
Yes, I think
Oh,
she did her presentation. I saw a good comment from somebody about they attended, and it was
Nice.
great. So we'll get all the news from Sue when she's back
Yeah,
next
she's
week.
hanging
Any
out with
other
her real
news?
friends.
Yeah, that's it. Fabric best mates.
Yeah.
Doesn't care about us Power BI folks anymore, or the Excel folks. Second-class citizens now.
She'll be coming back in last place, and we can all mock her for it. So it'll be fine.
Did she get relegated because she's been away?
Oh,
Is that what happened to Mark? No, Mark didn't get relegated when he was
did.
away. Did he?
He did.
Did you?
He did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
I was second. Now I'm third.
Rules.
It matters actually to all of us. It's probably surprising how much this matters.
When you say
Can
all
Win
of
ever
us,
be knocked off number 1 though? That's the thing.
Oh yeah,
mm,
yeah.
there's,
Yeah. Oh,
there's
can.
Win might
there's a
get
good
ill
chance of it
next
in the
month.
coming month or two. So
Yeah.
Giles
Ooh.
watches. All Giles's dreams are coming true. Top voice, MVP, might make it to the top of the
Host of the
Unpivot
show.
podcast.
Top dog in the Unpivot podcast. God help you when I'm running this.
Can we expect another video?
Maybe.
reckon.
Yeah.
I was going
Any
to ask you,
other-
Giles, what do you think
Oh,
about the top voice badge being taken off of LinkedIn, as you were so proud to get your top voice badge, and that they've now completely removed it from LinkedIn, haven't they?
There you go. That is news. I don't know whether you've heard this. So a few people sent me screenshots. LinkedIn have removed the automatic part of top voice. I would love to think I'm important enough to have actually played a role in that. I'm sure I didn't. But the whole thing where you just have to contribute anything you like, which some of you may remember from episodes 1 and 2 of Unpivot, they've dropped. So you can still be awarded a top voice. I think it's the blue badge that's remaining, but it's actually by, I think somebody does assess what you're doing. So that's quite funny news.
Which is how
Probably
it
a
should
good
be,
thing.
really.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we proved that.
Cool. So any other news from anybody? Mark, any
I've got 3 bits of news. I'm going to go through them quickly. If you want to pick up on any of them, you can, or we can just skip over them. Okay. So this week is my dog's 3rd birthday. I'm not particularly excited about it. I mean, it's your dog's 3rd birthday. It doesn't know how to celebrate, but of course, my
party.
family decided that we have to buy the dog gifts.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the first bit of news. Dog's third birthday, a golden retriever, Deb. So, you mentioned golden retrievers earlier.
There you go.
So my dog's third birthday, that's obviously key. Secondly, this week we've been running our Power Query 5x5 Quick Start, which is like a 5-day video series. And that's going really well. We've got lots of people getting up and running with Power Query. So really stoked by that. Loads of people taking part. Fantastic. And the fun bit of news is I had my number plate stolen.
Oh,
Just the number plate.
Somebody stole my number plate and replaced them with number plates that weren't mine. And so now I'm just waiting to see what kind of crime is my number plate going to be used in, and what will I then be either, sent letters for, you're fined for this, you didn't pay for petrol here, you crashed into a bank and stole a cash machine, whatever those things are, I've just got to wait and see what happens. So if I'm not back in 2 weeks' time, probably been arrested. So yeah, that's my news.
So you woke up in the morning, went outside, and you just had a car with no number plate on it?
No, it had somebody else's number plates on it.
Oh, it had somebody, so you switched it.
Yeah, and so my daughter came home from school and she noticed our car and she's like, "They're not our number plates." And then it was like, "Well, when did we last see? When did we last notice the number plates on our car?" And I'm like, "Well, we had them serviced at the end of August." And you're like, "Well, I mean, that's like almost a month ago." So
yeah.
So would we have noticed before then? Hopefully, but equally, I think it was probably in the last few days, but it could have been a long time before that. So
that's either true, or you are the Walter White of the Excel world, and you're going to get busted for all your illegal activities, and you're just prepping us in advance. I think it could be that innocent face isn't fooling me, Proctor. I can see right.
I can't believe you got me first time. I was just laying the groundwork there.
You need to check all the books in your bathrooms in your house to see if you've got any personal. If you don't know Breaking Bad, that reference just sounds weird. Do you know Breaking Bad?
I've never seen a single episode of Breaking Bad.
I retract that last joke, which just makes me sound weird.
Edit.
Can't edit.
Any other news from anybody? Any new features? Any new thing? Any new releases?
I mean, it's been quite a few new features. I feel I was at LinkedIn last week recording a training course, so that was fun. My first time at LinkedIn, so that was cool just to go there and see how everything is. I was happy that it is exactly as you would imagine it to be. So that was fun. And when I came back, I feel like there was loads of things that had been released, different things in Excel, mainly sort of surrounding CoPilot. So a whole heap of new features released in CoPilot available for general release as well. And I feel like there's been quite a few things. They're really kind of ramping it up at the moment with regards to CoPilot and all of the new features. But I haven't explored too many of them, haven't had a chance. But yeah, should be good.
Yeah, you're right. Lots of stuff became generally available, which basically means even though it's generally available, not everyone has them, which is exactly strange.
I was going to post this in the MVP forum because I wanted somebody to clarify what generally available meant. So exactly who has it? Still probably the same people who had it before.
Yeah,
I mean, effectively, it just means it will roll out to people at their relevant update cycle rather than just they're still testing it. But I think with CoPilot, it's generally available if you have a license, which basically just means you have it if you have a license.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. In order to have CoPilot within your applications, you have to have upgraded or bought that $30 license or whatever it is. So if you've bought that license, then you have CoPilot. So saying that it's generally available, what does that mean? It's not like it's generally available to the public because you have to have a license to use it. So the people who have a license, nothing changes. So I'm not sure what generally available actually means.
I think there was in preview because it was in limited number of languages, and now they've updated the number of languages it works in. From a Power BI point of view, when they say generally available, because they got lots of preview features in Power BI, there's lots of toggles you can turn on in the application to say I want this preview on, this preview on, and all. when something becomes generally available, it means you can actually lodge a support ticket if something goes wrong with it. If you're using it in preview, it's like buyer beware, you're using it at your own risk. So that's the Power BI generally available. The Excel one, yeah, I just find it as confusing as you guys.
But it isn't on Excel World, isn't it? You've got the current channel, you've got the monthly enterprise and the semi-annual. So when ignoring the CoPilot thing, generally when Microsoft say it's now available for the general audience, that's the current channel, isn't it? But you'd still be waiting on the 2 enterprise versions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing I'm trying to find out is what's going to be not in Excel 2024, because that's coming out, the one-time purchase.
Yeah.
So it's going to be what's all the things missing, because I finally got group by and pivot by today in my current channel. I think Giles mentioned that last time. That showed up for me today. But all those things and what else it isn't in, because they do a terrible job of actually highlighting what's not in those versions.
It would be great if there was, I mean, there might be, and I just don't know where it is, but I would love to have like a list so you can see, just have a list of all the features that aren't available or are available in the new version that weren't in the previous version. That would make everybody's life so much easier, particularly when you're doing things like courses for all of the different versions. Sort of trying to establish what's actually new is really difficult a lot of the time.
If you follow David Benayem on, if you follow David Benayem on LinkedIn, he's got a ribbon where he keeps track of all the features and which versions they're in and not in.
Oh wow!
So if you want to know, hit him up on LinkedIn. I'm sure he'll tell you. But otherwise, I haven't got a clue what's going on. It just appears or disappears.
Do you know what? I'm glad I'm not the only one who feels that way.
I've seen lots of those conversations where people are saying they've had it and then they've lost it again, which is quite an interesting one. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, so Power BI, they accidentally launched the early version of Power BI, the September version of Power BI, and dark mode, which is the new announcement. Power BI has now got dark mode, which doesn't really bother me. I'm not a dark mode fan. But it was an early release. So a few people blogged about it, LinkedIn posts, little videos, TikToks, all that. And then they just turned it off again. So there was all these comments of people going, how do I turn it on? Where's the feature? So yeah, just try to sweep. And then they announced it today or yesterday that it's now available. So they basically got 4 or 5 days of, preview.
That happened to me with CoPilot a few months ago. Microsoft asked me to write a couple of articles about CoPilot in PowerPoint and do a couple of videos. So I did them and, wrote them. And then about a month later, I'm getting all these frantic messages on Teams telling me that my blog post is completely wrong. And I started to panic thinking, oh my goodness, have I done something wrong? But no, it's just that they had removed a feature. So my blog post was no longer accurate. But they were making it sound like it was me. But no, they just kind of 1 minute the feature's there, the next minute it's gone, and it causes chaos.
Yeah.
That commenting on preview stuff or doing blog posts on new release stuff in beta always has that risk as well. There was stuff with XLOOKUP, or there's been a few of them where they changed the actual sort of parameters that you put in, or even the order of them for one function, I think. So your video becomes, got to delete it and sort of, if you remember. The other one there's always things to do. The other one that I was quite excited about with Power BI was you can now do multiple apps per workspace. For people who know about you package your reports together and send it out. Reporting pack would have been a better name than app, but you can send them all out. It used to be one workspace, so one folder, one app, and now you can do multiple with different reports into different audiences, which is cool. And you can actually have a choice of colors, which you were limited to 6 colors or 7 colors, and they were awful before. I was very excited, then discovered you have to have a fabric workspace, so you have to pay a bit more money. So there's all these little features now, like Python in Excel. If you want to work quicker, you've got to pay a bit more money. I'd be struggling to work out all these license things.
Focus Cell, that was causing a bit of buzz this week, wasn't it?
Focus Cell, yes.
Yeah, I'm just happy because that VBA video that does the rounds, like I feel like every content creator has the video of doing that using VBA. Like I don't have one, but literally that's all you see when you open up like TikTok is like that video. So I'm happy for that reason that it's going to cut down on the amount of those videos.
Can I give a quick explanation of focus cell, Deb?
We click on a cell and it basically highlights the column and the row. So it sort of zeroes in or allows you to focus on your cell.
I think she put
It's not just a clever name. It actually does what it says. Wow.
Do you even have to click on it, or do you just hover?
You do have
I don't
to
know.
click.
I don't have it.
You do have to click.
But
Have you not seen the millions of emails going around the MVP group, filling up my inbox every day?
I've
Brilliant.
ignored them all.
But if you use find, it also applies the focus cell. So if you use find, you click next, as it works through your finding the next instance of that, it applies the focus cell to each of the items that it finds.
Oh, it does?
Yes, which was a bit mind-blowing at the time, because even if you haven't got focus cell turned on, it will still apply that while it's using the find feature.
Oh,
It can focus on multiple cells or just one cell at a time?
I think multiple.
So wouldn't that make you have like loads of like highlighted
Oh,
lines?
no.
Going
So
across
as you
everywhere?
go find, when you go to find, it just finds the one that the current active one you've got.
Oh,
when you go next,
the
then
current
finds the
one that
next
you're
one
looking
and the
for.
next
Got
one.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
cool. So just keep clicking the update button and see if our beta versions of Excel actually show that new feature. It's a
I feel like
complete
it's one of
lottery.
those features I wouldn't really care if it wasn't there.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. I've not been quite as excited as I've seen some other people getting on this, but it looks cool, awesome. I haven't lost any sleep not having it.
To be honest, by the time I've moved my mouse up to the bar, clicked the drop down, clicked on focus cell, I'll have found where my cursor was. So, but it's probably not aimed at us, right? It can help people, I guess, to bring it back into the sensible world. It can help people who've got maybe vision impairment and stuff like this. So, great for those folks. And you can always shortcut it as well. Add it to your quick access. Yeah. Alt-W-E. Enter.
Oh, that's been
Nice
doing
and
the
easy
rounds
to
in the
remember.
emails, hasn't it? With the shortcuts. God.
So just add it to your quick access toolbar, position number, whatever.
But so far, I don't think anyone has used the term game changer to describe it.
No.
So that, until someone uses the term game changer, that's the point that a feature is a big deal when they use the term game changer. Because equally, they're thinking, well, I sit there thinking when they say, oh, this feature is a game changer. I think, it doesn't really change the game. It's more just like bringing a different player on, isn't it? Or playing in different shoes. But we like to throw out, this is a game changer. So that one phrase just gets me. Oh, it's a game changer. It's like, no.
What was the last game changer? What was the last game changer in Excel?
Power Query and Dynamic
Lambda.
Arrays. They're the only two real big game changers.
Mark's going back a decade.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair
I think he's right.
Dynamic arrays is a bit of a game changer.
Dynamic Arrays,
Yeah. Those two. Power Query, Dynamic Arrays. Lambda, nah, that's just adding like another chessboard into 3D chess. I think adding lambdas it makes the game more complicated for most of us.
The thing I always think about these things is I like to imagine Microsoft sitting around a table and discussing what the next feature is that's going to be released. And like, who was the person who said, let's do focus cell? Out of everything we could have done, that is the thing that our team is going to focus on this week. I'd just love to know how those decisions are made.
I'd love it if they just had a period where they got round that table and went, for this year, we've done enough. Let's just give everybody 6 months to catch up.
Yeah. There's a lot of work done for the sort of customer satisfaction type stuff for a while, and have quite a few things from that list from the feedback portal have now sort of started to come into play. So they are doing a bit of that. The thing that I sort of the enlightening thing that I heard at one MVP summit was somebody explaining how Microsoft's engineers the best and the brightest. And none of those people want to go and work on somebody's old code to fix the issues, right? You don't want to, if you're like, cutting edge, you're talking all this new cool stuff, you want to make a big difference. Nobody wants to do bug fixes from code bases 10 years ago. It's just, not fun for anybody. So human nature is people focus on and you want to keep those engineers because they're the best and brightest. So you can't upset them too much. So you've got to sort of mix it in a bit, I think. Mix the cool stuff with a bit of the old, fix up the old rubbishy stuff.
Or they'll go to Google, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
When they release these features, I'm always there. You think about the features that you'd love to be fixed. So Win with his Let's Fix in Power Query IntelliSense, they could have put the engineers on fixing Power Query IntelliSense or Focus Cell, and they went for Focus Cell. And there's lots of things like, there's so many things you could do. Why? I just want you to fix all these 25 other things. Why this one that I don't care about?
Yeah. It's like when, a couple of weeks ago when they announced like CoPilot with Python. And I remember thinking to myself, what? Why? When the basics don't work, why are we suddenly focusing on Python, which is like what a very small slice of people are going to use when the very basic things don't currently work properly? That I don't understand that thinking, but I'm guessing that there's probably external factors guiding that. But I don't really understand how they think.
I've always said it would be really, and I don't know whether this data exists. I remember trying to ask people at the Usbrid conference 2 years ago whether this existed, but of the, let's call it 1 billion Excel users, what data do we actually have on the users? Like, can you categorize them into whatever, beginner, intermediate, advanced? I don't know, something. It'd be so interesting to see like 995 million of the billion just know how to use VLOOKUP. And then it's like, okay, well, Jesus, why are we doing this with all this crazy stuff? I don't know, but I'd love to know if that data set exists somewhere, probably with Microsoft.
I had a great stat the other day, and I'm going to assume it's true, just for the humor of this next piece. So it was on LinkedIn, so therefore it's definitely a fact. Apparently, something like 97.5% of spreadsheets don't involve any formulas. Okay, 97.5% don't involve any formulas. But when you combine that with 80% of spreadsheets contain errors, it's like, where are these errors coming from then? I mean, it's like those two statistics in my mind are like, so the errors are not generated by formulas. So are we now counting typos? I mean, my mind's been blown by. I don't know how the Venn diagram of that even overlaps. So they're almost like two separate circles that are opposite ends. I just don't get it.
We will never know. We'll never know. Right, let's do question of the week.
Jingle.
Hold on then. Jingle.
It's the question of the week. It's the question of the week.
There we go. Question of the week. Okay. What is it? It is.
What is the question?
What advice would you give your 20-year-old self? So this is going back.
This is not going to be Excel related at all, is it? Because it can't be.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
no.
Fantastic.
It could be, I guess, but no, probably not.
Mine's kind of career. I thought I'd keep it career and not personal.
Yeah. We can do it. Do you want to come up with a few thoughts, Deb? Do you want to kick off?
For it, Deb. Yeah.
Well,
go on.
the thing that, for me, if I had to go back and tell my 20-year-old self something, it would probably be mindful of who you invest your time and energy in. And that goes for professional life and personal life. Because I feel like over the years, I've spent a lot of time putting a lot of my time, a lot of my energy into people, things, events, which just serve no purpose for me. And someone told me recently, and I think this is kind of particularly useful if you have your own business, and particularly if you're more on the people-pleasing side of the spectrum. Somebody once told me, always ask what's in it for me. And I've tried to stick to that. Otherwise, you find yourself just doing things, investing time, and just getting nothing back out of it. So that's what I would tell my younger self. Be mindful of where your energy goes.
Well, thank you for joining us on the podcast, Deb. It's nice to know that we are providing you some benefit.
What is in it for you
Exactly.
coming on this
I
podcast?
thought about it and I deemed it worthwhile.
Good.
How did you come to that conclusion? What happened? What was the thought process?
Well,
Just
I
enjoy
get
the
to
chat.
Spend an hour with you lovely three gentlemen.
Mark, Giles, do you want to?
I can go next.
Yeah.
I've got two. One is kind of they're both a bit work related. So first of all, I didn't learn this until I was in my mid-30s, and that is the fact that if you have a job and you're employed by somebody, you effectively run your own business, but you just have one customer, and therefore actually your employment and all your income is actually at a bigger risk than if you run your own business. Because if you run your own business, you can have lots of customers, but if you're employed, you've only got one customer, and that is the person who employs you. So that's my first bit of wisdom. A wisdom. I'm not sure it goes that far.
I'd give it wisdom marks for that one. Yeah.
And then my second one is I'd say to myself, Mark, don't fear failure, because actually you spend so long fearing failure that you're more scared of failing than the result of actually failing at something. So therefore it kind of holds you back from doing lots of stuff, and actually the fear of it is much worse than the reality. So yeah, just get your head down and get on with it. Stick your head above the parapet and just keep going.
Yeah.
That's me at the moment, fearing failure. I'm about to release my first training course, and I feel like for the last 5 years when I've been working for clients, it's always been like something that I'm going to do in the future, and now it's here and I'm terrified, and I am very worried that it's just not good. I'm going to fail, basically. That's what I'm concerned about. So you're right, I shouldn't be concerned about that. I need to get over it.
Well, as long as it doesn't stop you, all right. I guess that's the thing.
Yeah.
One of mine was, take calculated risks. That would be my,
yes.
Because all the risk, the things I felt, and they probably weren't really, all the things I did that felt risky, which weren't particularly risky really in the scheme of things, they're the things that have just look back on, had the most impact on my life, the most benefit, look back on most fondly.
Yeah.
So it's just that thing of, like Mark says, it's the fear of not doing it. It's way worse than actually doing it.
Yep.
And sometimes you've got to think, well, how difficult would it be to get back to where I were previously? So in your case, Deb, you're releasing your course. Let's say hypothetically it crashes and burns. It's the worst course ever. You're effing and blinding throughout all of it. Your name gets slurred across the entire industry, right? You could go to somebody and you can say, hey, do you need an in-house trainer for whatever? I'm an MVP. I've done this stuff. They were like, yeah, okay. And so therefore, what's the biggest risk is you have to go back and do something else. Like so you can once you think about
I just go back to my old clients. Yeah. I know, you have to think about it in that way. Like, what's the worst that can happen? I try to think about life that way in every situation. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And if the worst isn't that bad, then take the risk.
It's normally the fear of what people will think about you. If I fail, people will know I've failed, and then I'll be embarrassed.
Exactly.
And I think that's normally the driver. We care too much about what other people think.
Exactly. Yeah.
But also, you will smash it, Deb, because you're really good at what you do. So your course will be just like your YouTube videos, I'm sure. Like, you know your stuff.
Have the best course in the world. It's the marketing. It's the marketing. So the course can be amazing, but if you don't know how to market it properly, then no one sees it. So it's that part, because I'm not in control of that part either. So that's sort of a blind spot. But we'll see. It's exciting.
Yeah. Giving it a go. Giles,
Yeah.
what do you?
I had three. One was very similar to Deb's one, which was about people and like assessing who is kind of sucking positivity from you and giving
Yes.
positivity back to your life. So it's kind of a similar thing. The other one I had was just to not put so much pressure on yourself. I remember in my 20s feeling like, God, I just wasn't achieving enough, and I wish I had just felt more relaxed and done things, positive things every day, every week, that just little and often, you know, a little bit of reading, a little bit of upskilling, whatever it was, rather than feeling like I had to, you know, solve my life by the end of my 20s. I remember feeling old when I hit 30, and now when I've hit 40 thinking, well, that was ridiculous. I feel
now
younger. Yeah. And well, no, now I feel more content and full of energy than I ever have. The third one was, you will never be as good looking as you are now. That's what I'd say to myself at 25. You
I was
will
thinking
never
this
be-
the other day.
About me or you?
No, I was looking at old pictures, and I remember at the time of those pictures when they were taken when I was like 25, thinking, oh, I'm really fat. And now I look at them and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's like a supermodel back then.
I had the same. I'm like, look at that hair. Look at all that hair you had on your head. Good God, you were beautiful, Giles. What happened?
How do you think? How do you think your 20-year-old self would react to that advice from your future self?
If
Would you
40-year-old
be
bald
depressed?
bearded Giles rocked up from a little time warp bubble and said, "You are beautiful," I think he'd run a mile and be like, "God, exactly."
You're going to look like this in the future.
God.
Yeah, I need to do some hair treatment today to protect that I don't turn out
Get
like
that
that.
cream going on there.
Nice.
Yeah, so there you go. You'll never be as beautiful as you were today. So get ready,
Yeah.
because you're going to have to rely on your personality when you hit 40.
and video editing and lights
Exactly.
and a can dancing group. So quite a few people on LinkedIn commented. Let's just go through here as well, and I'll chip into a couple of these that I agree with.
Did you do yours, Win?
Well, one of mine was sort of take calculated risks.
Oh, sorry, you did say yeah.
And that sort of related with just push yourself out of your comfort zone, do stuff, you know, like first speaking engagement, putting my hand up to run a meetup group when I was still nervous about speaking, you know, doing this, that, do all sorts of stuff, starting the podcast, everything, right? It's just like, oh, I know, what if that goes wrong or whatever? And you just, like you say, agree with you guys, all your comments on that. Come back to it tomorrow would be the other piece. I wasted so many hours in my 20s just trying to blast through things, you know, working till 1 o'clock in the morning for companies and stuff like this. And you just go, just stop at 6, come back at 9. You'll solve it in 10 minutes. So there's that bit of advice. Yeah. And
do you think that's universally true, by the way? Like, because that's a very Excel. I know that's, well, we all know that's true with modeling. Do you think that advice works if you're in writing, you know, the writing industry or the marketing industry? Like, step away from it and come back tomorrow and you'll solve it. I don't know.
I think writing, yeah, definitely, because you know,
Probably does, isn't it?
Yeah, writer's block and all. Yeah.
So there was a few people online as well that commented. So Lynn Titley said, some people are just weird, don't take it personally.
That's my favorite comment.
That's awesome. True. It's okay to Google for the answer, from Lee Becker.
Yeah,
that's definitely true.
Sadly, my 20-year-old self would have had no idea what I was talking about if I'd said that to them. What's Google? Do you mean I don't know if they wouldn't have had a clue. The don't sweat the small stuff from Colin, which is important. Christopher Fennell said, somebody getting attacked by a manic bumblebee in the background.
I was going to say, I was almost going to go on mute. Can you hear the tree surgery going on outside?
Yeah. Is that what it is? Oh, yeah.
I'll just mute it. Normally you can't hear stuff at the background of mine, but here we go.
I can't hear it now. It's stopped now.
Yeah. So Chris Fennell said, surf more, work less. Good call. And then it was one or two more.
As in surf the web or surf outside in the sea?
Ooh, good question.
I'm guessing outside in the sea, because
Yeah.
surfing the web more is not a great activity, is it?
Well, I don't know.
But it does make me want to be him, though. Like, you know.
Yeah, someone check to see if he's from like Newquay or something.
You know, when someone says, "Oh, what advice would you give?" Like, surf more, work less. Like, I so want to be you. I want to.
Yeah.
He sounds cool.
Yeah, mine would have to be learn to surf, then surf more, work less.
I remember sort of arriving in Australia and having a meeting with an accountant for our company and just trying to say, "Oh, you know, can we catch up tomorrow to discuss this?" And he went, "Nah, surf's good tomorrow morning. How about the day after?" Just like, no, surf's
That's valid
like
in Australia.
Stereotypical Australian, you know. Nah,
Yeah,
tomorrow's got a good surf day.
Say that here.
Not going to work.
I've got two friends that are a couple close friends of mine, and the guy is a real surfer, young French guy, and he winds up his other half to no end because they'll make plans on the weekend to go and do stuff. But if the surf's good, when he checks his phone at 5 a.m, it's like, nope, cancelling everything, going to the beach. Plans dropped. Madness. Never date a surfer.
That's the way. There you go. Advice to your 20-year-old self, Giles?
Yeah.
Never date a surfer.
Yeah, to be fair.
It's okay. That's fine. That's fine. And then one more. It's okay to fail this is from Shirley Mormon. It's okay to fail sometimes. You'll learn a lot from the things that go wrong, which is very true.
Yep.
Very true indeed. Yeah,
cool.
Like that.
All right. So we have burnt through 45 minutes before we get into the main topic, which was pretty much expected. Right, main topic, triggered by a post from Mr. Proctor about best practice. So, Mark, what was your involvement with this? Was it 20 principles for good spreadsheet practice?
Yes, so probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I'm not sure. The ICAW, who's the Accounting Standards Board for England and Wales, so they released this document called the 20 Principles for Good Spreadsheet Practice. And then about 2 years ago, they decided they were going to revisit that and update it because lots of stuff has changed in Excel and other tools. So they wanted to revisit that. And I've been in discussion with them about various ways about how I could get involved. So I then was involved in the working group for updating these 20 principles for good spreadsheet practice. So we had lots of working groups discussing all of these points, going back through other points, and trying to come up with what is. And the key thing with this document, if you search for it, is that it's principles for good spreadsheet practice. It's not trying to be prescriptive, as in you have to do this and have to do that. I think the first principle is even decide what role spreadsheets play in your organization. So it's not even, you might decide spreadsheets have no role in your organization. That might, so the first principle is that. The second principle is then around decide whether, I think it's this, the second principle, decide whether a spreadsheet is a good use for what you're about to do. So there's lots of principles in there. And then there's things about making sure that you have suitable backups and who's got access and all of those things. So I think they're really good in terms of principles for thinking through those things. So it doesn't matter whether you're an Excel ninja or whether you're literally it's your first day at your job. These are the things that you should still think about and consider in terms of those principles. So that, I think it came out officially published earlier this year in April time, and I can see my fingerprints on various principles. There's one in there which is things to do to make sure that you clean and optimize the shape of your data before you then use it. I was like, yeah, that sounds like me. Sounds like me. It doesn't say Power Query, but it might as well. It might as well.
There was a mention of tables at some point as well. I thought that's got to be Mark's.
It's funny. So that document was originally written by my last permanent company. So Filtered had involvement with the ICAEW.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that document was put together in conjunction with people at Filtered, because it had kind of just come out when I joined the company, and they kind of gave it to me to have a little read through and check. And occasionally I go to meetings with the ICAEW. Is that right? ICAEW.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, to talk about these principles and stuff. So I thought it was quite funny when you posted that, because I was like, I think we created the original of that document, which you've now kindly updated.
The ICAW's documents are my favorite. So they've got a code as well, which again is of the modeling codes, it's the most recent one that's ever been created. And they brought in quite a wide range of people. I think some people from like Numeritas and other modeling companies were involved in that. Which is kind of the next level down. So with ICAW, you've got the 20 principles, then you've got the code, which is a bigger document. And then you've got standards like FAST, which I follow. And like some people hate FAST, but I always say to them, just remember the 4 words and what they stand for: flexible, appropriate, structured, transparent. And if you've got those words in your head when you're building your model, like if you're starting from a position where you don't use any rules or principles, just starting to use the 20 principles or the words behind FAST is a massive, massive step in the right direction.
So why do we need them? What's the point of best practice? What does it do for us?
Can you still hear this, brother? I swear, if it sounds like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is being filmed next door to my house. Can you still hear this?
Not now.
No.
Okay. Well, Mark, you were involved, so you should.
Yeah. Why should we do best practice? What's the point?
I mean, I must admit, when I first started out on this working group, I was reasonably dogmatic about this is the way things should be done. I think you'll find, and then after a couple of meetings, I was like, no, I was wrong. I was definitely wrong. I didn't admit it, obviously. I mean, I'm not a fool. I'm not going to admit it publicly. I'll wait till a podcast 18 months later. But like as we went through that, I was like, yeah, that's actually that. You know, lots of good points came out that I'd even never considered before about how to approach things and why things are done certain way. While there might be things that a lot of them are things I'd have done inherently anyway, but equally, unless it's something that makes you think about it, then we're all kind of restricted by our own thoughts and ideas. So if I go, I've got this really awesome idea, and then I go to implement it. Actually, when you speak to 20 other people, they'll be like, well, it's better to do it this way and that way. So by collecting all those kind of ideas together, if nothing else, it makes you think about the things in a different way and how you should approach things. You know, as Giles said, even if you've got the FAST standard and you don't apply it 100%, just making yourself go through that process of thinking from all these different perspectives helps to improve what you do. So even if you're not following the principles, just reading what the principles are and understanding them helps you to get that collective view. So I think it's as much about getting a view outside of yourself and understanding other people's experience and other people's knowledge and really making the most of that, rather than having to make all those mistakes yourself. You get to understand, you get to learn from other people's experiences. You might decide that you still want to make those mistakes. You might decide you're going to ditch these rules and do something the way that you want to do it, and that's fine. But at least you're making that as a decision rather than out of ignorance.
So it's a boiled down essence of all the mistakes people have made, and go, don't make these. These are all the things we've done in the past. It's gone wrong. It hasn't worked for us.
Yeah.
So don't go down the same path. If you go down this way, there'll be less issues. Be kind to your future self, sort of thing. Is that the general benefit of adopting them?
It's like, here are the 20 things you would tell to your 20-year-old self about spreadsheets.
Right.
There's a good way of looking at it, though, because also with Excel, you've got to remember the vast majority of people come at it with no training, with the blank canvas that Excel is. So actually, what probably sound like really obvious rules to us and other people that are in it every day need to be communicated to the vast majority of other people. There is a difference between the principle-based standards and the rule-based standards, and I think sometimes the BPMs of the world with a 280-page document of this is the color you use in this situation, it's like, it goes a little bit too far. I really like the principle-based stuff because especially if you're in a modeling team, I totally get it. If you've got a modeling team of 50 people, you kind of need to know how they're all going to approach the same challenge. A little bit different if you're an individual.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, it only
Absolutely.
works if everybody, adheres to the standards in that document. If you've got like half of the company, hard coding values and things like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it has to be fairly. The uptake has to be across the board for it to really be of benefit.
Totally agree.
Otherwise, it's still just a mess.
And in terms of resources for that, do you think so you mentioned a few, Giles. Mark, I'll put a link in the show notes about the 20 principles for good spreadsheet practice. Is there, are there any third-party tools? Because like Power BI has got something called Best Practice Analyzer. So you can actually run a piece of software using Tabular Editor across your model, and it'll actually spit out a whole list of issues. Is there something similar for Excel? I guess it's a bit loose. So
you've got auditing tools. So there's lots of tools. I think Oak I've mentioned before. There's lots of those, but it's not. Well, as far as I know, none of them are quite at the it's not like an AI-led, okay, we're going to tell you everything that's wrong, but it will tell you a lot of information about your model. You've had two tools, so Medano and more recently OpenBox are modular spreadsheet design tools. I tried Medano years ago, and look, it's very clever because you kind of type in on a front-end user interface what you want the thing to build, and it builds it. But I didn't like the code, if you call functions in Excel code, because it was trying to be an all-encompassing solution for any potential button somebody might click. So you'd end up breaking a lot of best practice in the actual functions in the cells. And then OpenBox is, more recently quite clever, especially if you're a fast modeler, because you can churn out a 3-stage model or ingest one. I quite liked that. You could take a spreadsheet, ingest it into OpenBox, and it'll pull it apart and tell you more about it in there. I suspect you'll get to the point in the not too distant future where it literally is just like, I want this model. You tell your machine what you want, and it churns out a perfect 3-statement model or something like that. I can imagine that happening.
You'd think it'd be something that, again, the AI should be, CoPilot.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Yeah. Or if you could upload, because I know like in the other applications that you have CoPilot, like Word and PowerPoint, you can upload files and use those files as references. I don't think you can do that in Excel, CoPilot in Excel, but it'd be cool if you could have like some kind of best practice document which you can upload or reference in CoPilot in Excel and sort of say, compare my spreadsheet to the best practice, and then get kind of like a report of, that kind of thing. That would be pretty cool. I think.
I think one of the key things about any of these best practice or principles is equally knowing when to break them, because there are, in Power BI there is the adage of, don't add calculated columns, right? Don't use many-to-many relationships, and they're kind of principles to keep things simple. But equally, there are scenarios where you do want to break those rules, and it's the key thing is knowing when to break those rules and when and how to do them differently so that you actually get the result that you want, and that it's the right thing to do. So I think that's often where experience and knowledge comes from, in the fact that we're then deciding to purposefully not follow rules, and at what point we do that.
Totally agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had to cut it short today. Well, on time, to be honest. So we all have to.
We solved modeling principles in.
We solved modeling principles, which is all good. I think for me the whole best practice piece, it's just about good habits, and I can open up somebody's spreadsheet, and you can eyeball it and just go, right. I'm judging people if you haven't got a table. I'm judging people for this, that, and the other. And I'm sure the AI could do the same sort of thing. It could go through those sheets and just say, hey, you've got some inputs here, you've got some inputs on that sheet, you've got some inputs here, all those sorts of things. It's getting it nice and organized so that your future self or the person who takes over your job isn't crying and reworking, and you're not getting a phone call 6 months later from the job you left from the person who replaced you saying, hey, how does this work? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I had I saw a presentation by Paul Barnhurst recently, and I don't know if this is a common joke, but it made me laugh. He's like, what do you call a bad spreadsheet? The next employee's problem. That made me laugh.
Oh, geek humor. Yes.
All right, folks. Thank you very much, Deb. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Giles, awesome on the MVP. Look
Thank you
forward
very
to
much.
Congratulations,
catching up with you.
Giles.
Yes, all good. And we shall catch everyone in a couple of weeks' time. All right, thanks, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.